Welcome to the Brian Murray Show, a real estate show, New Jersey style. Today's discussion point is the spring market. Here we sit at the end of January, and the spring market is right around the corner. Builders really define the start of the spring market as President's Day weekend, usually the third weekend in February, but since we're a few weeks away from that, we start talking about the spring market now. Because if you're a seller, you need to know that it may take you several weeks to get your home prepared for the spring market. You might have decluttering to do. Everyone has a little decluttering to do. You might have some repair projects that you might want to do to spruce up the home. A little touch-up paint, a large paint job, sanding your floors, getting your windows cleaned. A lot of little jobs that start to add up. That where do you find the time to do them? Who do you hire to do them? If you need somebody to hire to do them, that's where you call me and I send someone over. But so the spring market, although it's really starting in a few weeks, if you're a seller, it's already started for you because you're in prep mode. Time flies when you're having fun and even when you don't. Even though we're in the middle of the winter and every day can seem like it drags on and on and on, time does move quickly, and the next thing you do, you're going to wake up, and here we are in the spring market. And if you haven't prepared now, if you haven't put the acorns away, when it's time to start living in those trees, you won't have anything there. So that's why you plant the acorn and you wait and you wait and you wait and you have a tree. Here it's the same thing. If you aren't preparing, you're going to wake up come March 15th and go, oh my gosh, I have all this work to do. And then by the time you get it done, it's May 1st. And guess what? Now you've really put yourself in a bind for the spring market. So time does fly. I can tell you right now that as far as what's happening in the winter market, the open houses have been well trafficked. Buyers are out there. They're out there looking. Maybe they didn't find what they wanted in the end of October. November came Thanksgiving. December came the rest of the holidays. And all of a sudden they put their home search offer. Now they've been looking for 3 months and boom, now they're out about in the winter market looking. So the winter market is really the pre-spring market. That's what we should be calling it, pre-spring market. So open house traffic is good. And guess what? Inventory is low. And if you're waiting for the spring market to come for more inventory, the fact is that, other than a blip and really last year, the inventory in the spring market has been relatively low in terms of months of inventory on the market. 2 to 3 months max. And that's really what I'm anticipating for this spring market, is that there's going to be enough homes that come on, but they're going to turn over very quickly. This is today's discussion point. Today's hot topic is buyer motivation. A few episodes ago, we talked about seller motivation, and really that sellers aren't motivated until they are. Buyers are even more so not motivated until they are. I've run into buyers in the 18 years that I'm selling real estate that have looked for 2-3 years. Now that's a very unmotivated buyer. I've also had buyers that I've run into that have bought a home within 5 minutes of meeting them. Those are very motivated buyers. So the fact is that if you're a seller, you have to understand that you may have 10 showings on your property, but the motivation of the buyer is not clear. It's not something that they show their cards. Sometimes, again, somebody will be starting out in the process. And a buyer quite often needs to see 10 homes or so before they really feel comfortable that they've covered a whole bunch of the market and that they really understand the pricing and the value and that they've done their due diligence, because everybody thinks that they have a fear of missing out. So buyer motivation, it can range from 5 minutes to 3 years, and there's definitely a fear of missing out. Now, That also plays into if you're a buyer and you're dealing with multiple bid situations, or you're dealing with, hey, are there any other offers on the property? Now, a reason why a buyer might ask if there are other offers on a property is simply because they want to know what situation they're walking into. If it's if there's already an offer on the property, it means that you're really going to need to be motivated and you're going to really want to move quickly. If you feel, and I run into buyers all the time that say, well, if there's another offer, then I don't necessarily want to be bidding on this. Now that is a huge mistake, because you don't know what the other offer is. You don't know what their motivation is. They may have been the only buyer in this, and they may have settled on some sort of a discount below what you feel the right value is for the home. So a multiple bid situation is not a scary thing. It doesn't, you need to take into account what are the motivations of other buyers in that situation. So again, buyer motivation can be 5 minutes to 3 years. Seller might never know. Buyer motivation has there's a lot of factors that go into that. It depends on where they're living now. It depends on, if they have a lease and when their lease might be up. It depends on if they're going to be having a family. And, what does that mean? It depends on if they need to be in a school system by a certain time. There's a lot of motivations that you just don't see out there. So as a seller, know that you're not going to know the buyer motivations. And as a buyer, know that other buyers may have completely different motivations than you. This is today's hot topic. The good, the bad, the ugly. The good is during the winter we have a great opportunity to boost our immune system. It's exercise. Exercise will definitely boost your immune system. Also, eating right and exercise. That's a twofer. And here in the wintertime, sometimes you're less likely to go outside because, hey, that restaurant is 2, 3, 4 blocks away in the freezing cold. So yes, you have the opportunity to eat at home and control your meals and eat better, and also exercise. You might not necessarily be able to go out for a run, but the fact that it gets dark early and that there's really not a whole lot going on allows you to get to the gym where everybody else is doing nothing as well, and exercise. And in the wintertime, when there's cold and flu's going around, it really, really, really is important to boost your immune any way you can. And the good news is that it's relatively cheap and it's relatively easy in the winter. That's the good. The bad. I thought flu shots worked. As you can see from the graphic, they're saying to me that flu shots don't work. My wife makes me get a flu shot every September. She starts actually nagging me in September about it. And by the time November rolls around, I usually get there and get one. And I have to drag the kids, and the kids hate the flu shots. And sometimes they get the nasal spray thing, and that never works. And so then they're taking the shots and complaining about it, just like I am. Turns out that maybe the flu shots don't work at all. It's all in your mind. If that works, that it's in your mind, it's like those emergency tablets too. They're not proven. So I guess maybe it's safer than sorry to go through it and say, hey, if it doesn't work and I think it works, that's okay. But I'm really upset to have my mind blown by that, and it turns out that maybe it's not working, and the flu shot is just a giant waste of my time and a pain in my butt. That's the bad. And the ugly. There are some really dangerous flu viruses that are out there. I think the new one is the Wuhan flu from China. And, we import a lot of things from China. That's one that maybe we didn't need to bring over here. But, especially in the winter time where you're kind of in confined spaces and the air is confined, that is a concern. So there are some tips here on the chart how to protect yourself from viruses. A big one is washing your hands a lot. that can also cause your hands in the wintertime to become chapped. So I recommend a little cream on your hands, and as well as washing them, just to get the soft hands and not have those little chapped hands all winter long. Because we live in the Northeast, and that's one of the benefits, is that we are more susceptible to viruses and more susceptible to chapped hands. So that's the ugly. This has been the good, the bad, and the ugly. And today's inspiration from Ralph Waldo Emerson. The first wealth is health. And after all, without health, nothing else matters. This has been the Brian Murray Show. If you saw anything that you liked, I want you to go to my social accounts, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. Like me, follow me, please. All past episodes are at themurraypropertygroup.com. I welcome your feedback. If you saw anything that you disagreed with, please reach out to me, and I'll show you why you're wrong.